I want to talk about a subtle but significant difference between losing your memory and losing your mind, both of which are elements of the aging process, the departure from the world. It doesn't always happen, and it happens in each individual way that is based on the construct that we imagine ourselves to be, and is very significant. Uh, as most of you know from all of my sort of storytelling, Blanche and I are both in the early phases, maybe a little further than that, in the memory loss experience, which is fascinating, not problematic all that much, except when you have memories of things that didn't happen, which is complicated. Um, Mostly not remembering something means it's just not there. It's just not there. And it may not matter unless you're in recall mode where you can't recall something that seems to be significant or important, and then it becomes distress, and it becomes struggle and hostility and anger and frustration and all of those things which people relate to in their own particular programmed way. Losing your mind is bigger than losing your memory, because in the most common version of it, it's kind of like going crazy. Crazy meaning that things don't add up, they don't fall into the structure, the construct of your being as they did. You are losing mind, which means you are losing your ability to put it all together. And you may have all been exposed to people for whom that has happened, and it's an awkward thing to witness. And awkward for you, awkward for them, obviously. But from the spiritual perspective, it's a bit of a different journey. Not a lot different, but loss of mind may not have such a weight on the word loss. It's simply no longer the dominating, guiding focal point of your experience of life. Mind is an arranging of history, story, narrative, programming that has brought you into being who you are. And most of us take our mind for granted as though this is what is, this is how it is. And I will tell you, in an individualized sense, yes, your mind and your story are accurate. They are constructs that started the moment you were entering this world, and you watch them come together and you take them for granted. And then you discover that many of them are similar to other people. So you start to have a reinforcement of mind based on societal experience and the world around you. And suddenly all of you are gathering in kindergarten and first grade and moving up the ladder in some way and getting history fed to you from some source that you're all acknowledging as the truth, as the history of the world and of you in the world. And it's fascinating. And we are all seduced by that. And we all believe that we are that thing we've been told we are. And then sometimes in the process of growing and learning about your history and learning how you fit into the world or don't fit into the world, or how you fit into your day-to-day life or don't fit into your day-to-day life, you can find a number of things happening. One of them is a movement toward or a reaching for comfort, happiness, security, whatever it is you think is going to give this journey purpose and meaning. Some of you have programs that make that hard. You aren't given the groundwork that will let you build a firm enough structure. And so you start to build a story around that. Your mind coalesces around your struggle and your difficulties and your pain. And whatever that is, your story is your story, someone else's story is their story, and it all constructs itself into something that is ultimately the way you see life and the world. And then you get old, and then things start to happen, and it's not holding together quite the way it was. Now, occasionally, something happens in the course of this lifetime that is what I call, and you've heard me say it multiple times, initiatory. It initiates you into something that lets you see the larger context of your material existence, something greater, something like bigger mind, greater mind. And it comes often from suffering, or as you know my story, from an overdose of LSD is where it first announced itself. And the world suddenly was not what I thought it was. It was really different. And I didn't know what to do with that. It was so different. I didn't know how to contextualize it. And so I began a lifelong journey into what was that, or in a way, what is this? And it took me into the metaphysical, mystical realms of every religion, which tries to give a descriptive whole to the, or a contextual whole to the bigger mind, the greater mind in which the smaller mind exists. And so you begin this extraordinary journey into trying to understand in a way that your own mind can hold on to, that allows you to see life from the teachings of the great masters who will try to explain it to you, who will try to give you contextualization that will make you feel, okay, I get it. I know I'm in something bigger, or whatever it is that you get from Christ and Buddha and Moses and whoever you want to give the credit to. They have directed you to a larger knowing. But what happens is that larger knowing starts to establish itself as a comfort zone in your mind. And so your mind starts to go, oh, I know what it is. I get it. I get it. And then you start to learn certain techniques for helping you to deepen the thing you get. So mostly what those would be prayer or would be meditation. And you can go deeper down into the thing you know and get more comfort, more, oh, this is how it is, more awareness. And it's all being processed by your human mind. So no matter how big your meditative awareness becomes, for most of us, it is a comfort zone of release and surrender and knowing that there's something bigger and greater that gets it. And when you have bad days, you start to go, I have to meditate more. I have to pray more. I have to go to church more, or synagogue or mosque or whatever you have to do, because the mind that you are holding on to for comfort, even the spiritual blessed part of your being that feels somewhat secure in the larger picture, isn't working. It's falling apart. Your mind is disintegrating. And so, what you want in this process of disintegration is assurance from someone, some teacher, that this is fine. This is all okay. And you can try to let things go. But what's really happening, just so you understand this in the subtlest mode, is that every teacher you go to, everyone who tells you what you need to hear to make you feel okay, is creating more of the, I'm not going to call it a problem really, but more of the struggle. Because the part of you that gets more and more secure in the great wisdom of the ages is still a you processing. It's still a you trying to get it and do it with your limited mind, even if it's been expanded somewhat on drugs or on meditation or through the suffering of human experience. Something in you is still trying to get held and still trying to be comforted in this journey. And what I am now discovering, and so I'm sharing this with you, and I don't know where it goes really or what to say about it. And again, It's just another voice coming at you. But there is this experience that starts to happen where the contextual mind, your personal mind, and even the, if you want to call it larger mind, no longer give you the answer, and they no longer reinforce you as a being. It starts to fall apart. And there will be likely a part of you that will go, no, 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 please, no. And it may not be that loud or that dramatic. It might be, oh God, this hurts. This is tricky. But what starts to happen, if you, I think, as you leave this world with some, let's call it consciousness rather than understanding in mind, is you watch this thing happen. You watch this disintegration take place. And you might partly experience it as something bigger than you. And that's really the basic feeling is this is really big. Something here is going on, and nothing in my little bit of contextualization can know what it is or hold on to it. But I can surrender to it. I can accept it as long as I want to make an effort. There's a me surrendering and a me accepting, and then it's saying, let that go. Let that me go. Let that surrender go. Let that person go. And that is a territory and a terrain you are not familiar with. It is not something you are programmed for. I mean, you are in a deep sense, but it is not familiar to the mind. Losing your mind is losing the ability to contextualize the unknowable. And that is part of, I think, the journey. So what I'm experiencing these days is, wow, I don't get anything. I don't get it at all. And as I start to break up as a person, as a human being, as a Bruce character, as someone with a story, I'm watching, and this strange thing is happening. And it happened a little bit on the LSD experience, which was the world is disintegrating with me. And it felt on LSD, 60 whatever years ago, that the world wasn't even a real thing. I remember trying to call my parents on a phone to say, I'm alive and well, but then I realized they didn't exist. The phone call to Detroit, which I was trying to make from the street in New York City, was going nowhere except in my own brain, my own construct. That kind of feeling is returning in a fairly major way. And I'm watching, as you all are, the breakup of not only my mind, but this is collective, the world mind. We're all seeing together something weird going on in the social fabric of our lives, the political fabric of our lives, and the ecological fabric of our lives. Things are disintegrating and changing at a rate we don't understand. There's also this new thing, this AI thing, which is coming into play, which may be of a much higher dimension and going to talk to us in a whole new way. There's nothing that I can say that my mind at this point can put together and go, this is how it is. Here's what it is. That is falling apart. So I even, when I think of talking to you and sitting here and pontificating about all this stuff, I go, you know, I can only tell you I don't know. I I don't know, but the not knowing is remarkable, completely remarkable. Something in this process of years of sitting has allowed me to observe and watch something that is no longer nameable and experiential in a way that I can fit it into a pattern or say this is how it goes and this is what I can teach you. This is knowledge, this is wisdom, this is truth. I I don't know. It feels remarkable to me and scary to me at the same time. So I have to let you, express, I have to let you know that you remain a body and a person. And so as everything else is falling apart, including your mind, your body joins the game, starts to fall apart, and it hurts. And then you go, I thought I meditated out of pain. I thought I meditated out of suffering, out of all of that. And it's going, nope, not at all. You're in it. This is it. This is what it is. How do you describe it? How do you prepare people for it? Well, I'm not unhappy that I had, all these years of meditative life because I'm talking about the witness, and the witness is in many ways intuitive, silent, and aware. I don't know. I'm just telling you that. That's my experience. That something is able to sit here and talk to you about my mind falling apart. And I don't think I sound like a mindless person. I don't. Maybe I do. Maybe this you'll all go, "Oh my God, Bruce again." But all I can tell you is this mind thing, which is falling apart, is allowing me. Me is the wrong word because that's what it's not doing. It's allowing an awareness that is a part of, or maybe is totality, which cannot be in any way comprehended by the person that got born into this world. It's just part of what got born into this world. I'm going to throw out my word radiance again because that just, it suffices for me in many ways to know that there's a radiance that's at play here that is way beyond the human body and the human mind and way beyond cosmic truth. It's just something absolute. But it is a phenomenal, I would say awakening, but there's no one awakening. It's just revealing itself to itself is what it feels like. Revealing itself to itself. It's tiny and massive, and it's exquisite, and it's horrifying. It's everything. It's painful and joyful. What do you do with that? What do I, as a teacher, have to offer you in saying any of this except kind of be ready and do the work, be prepared for all of this to take place, and for you to either get angry and be in the struggle and be betrayed by it because you thought you were going to get a good life from all of your spiritual practice, or just go. I mean, it's wordless. It's absolutely wordless. But there are moments in it that are infinite and and worth experiencing. I will tell you, there's a different journey for every human being based on your wiring and your programming. And the only thing one can do to have a truly, quote unquote, pure revelation of this journey is to have begun the work of separating from the absolute ignorance of normal human experience and waking up to a deeper awareness and consciousness of the world around you. Because even as that world disintegrates, there will be something there. And it will be something that, put it this way, holds your hand. It just holds your hand. It may hug you. I do know it. I feel like it loves you. It just loves you. But it's not an it and a you. And that's where we get really lost in the equation. So the journey, I don't, even into death itself, it's no longer um, predictable. I've had, I'm going to give you some stories here, which is I tend to do, my experiences of the last couple of weeks, but they're sort of interesting. Um, One was I got a, a, a Christmas gift, a Christmas card with a chunk of chocolate in it, wrapped up, uh, and and I didn't know it was just a sweet thing from people I know who I will not name here, but I, I, I thought that was sweet that they gave me some chocolate. I can't eat a lot of chocolate because I'm diabetic, but my daughter-in-law, Burju, in DC, when we were there, gave us this bag of little tiny chocolates, which I can like have one or two of that are amazing. And I was sitting in the chair the other day, and I decided, just post-Christmas and we're home, and I decided I really wanted a piece of chocolate. And I got up and I walked over to get a piece of chocolate, and I saw this square of chocolate wrapped up, and I just went, "Oh, I'll try that. That looks good." So I opened it up and I ate. It's kind of small. I ate 6 squares of it, and I gave Blanche one. There were 9 squares, and it was good chocolate. And then I read the note from the person who sent it to me, and they told me this was psilocybin chocolate. And I had just had a massive overdose of psilocybin. And I was not prepared. And Blanche had just had a bigger dose than you're supposed to take. You're supposed to take one half of one square as a dose. So I had my six, and Blanche had had her one. And there was nothing I could do at all. To add to the story, we had just gotten home from Washington, D.C., and Blanche thought she had forgotten the charger for her hearing aids. And so we spent the whole morning looking for them and couldn't find them. My son Ari in DC was put on the mission, and he started looking and he couldn't find them. And then hours later, Blanche found them in her backpack, but then forgot because of memory loss and issues that to charge them. So she had no way to hear me all day. So here I am with an overdose of psilocybin, no idea what's coming, no one to talk to. My son Josh is traveling in the far west, nobody around. And I realized you are on your own. You are in this alone. And I wanted to try to share with Blanche what happened, and she could pick up a little of it. But I went, okay, this is a journey that you are taking all by yourself. Now, of course, we're all on this journey by ourselves, and we're all taking it by ourselves. But this was very vivid. There's no one to call. I wouldn't know what to do. I've had overdoses, as you know, on the LSD back when, but I'm 81 years old. I didn't know where this would all go. So I just decided to clean house, find a nice space to sit in. I created a few spaces where I could go, where I could sit back and go on this whatever I thought was going to happen, which was a great big journey into the cosmic truth. And I put some photographs out of people I love, and Blanche was in her office and somewhat aware of what was happening, but not really. And then this thing started, and of course, I couldn't walk. I was having trouble walking, and then my mind started doing the normal, going out into the infinite. But mostly, what I was feeling was a physiological thing of my heart racing so fast, and I thought, yikes, this is physiological. I may not survive this. I'm older. And I went, well, welcome to being on your own, and welcome to facing the inevitable. And it was a great experience. And I just surrendered over and over to this thing. And strangely enough, nothing happened beyond that. I did not go anywhere that wasn't already here. And I realized that I'm already, in a sense, in that space that this takes you to. Now, that may not be 100% true. Neem Karoli Baba, when Baba Ramdas gave him LSD, said, didn't do anything for him. And I don't know that I'm in that boat. I don't want to give myself credit for that, but I will tell you, this did not have that kind of impact. I just was more present tense here than I ever am, but really aware that I'm on my own and that we are all on our own. And we have to accept that in the deepest, most profound way. And that being on your own is not contextualizing with your mind, it's falling into a deep trust, a deep sense of trust. And that's really crucial. And one of the things that happened that night is we were having a massive windstorm, rainstorm, and the cover on the couch out on the deck outside of our room was blowing off. And so whatever was going on, I went outside in my sort of my underwear, and it's like 40 degrees, 30 degrees. And I just put the cover back on. And I went, that's a weird thing to be doing when you're about to go off into the infinite. But it felt to me like exactly what I should be doing. I should do exactly what's in front of me to be done. And there's something brilliant about that. I washed a couple of dishes. I'm telling you, I got ready for this thing by taking care of what was in front of me. I think there's a secret in that, or a teaching in that. We just take care of business. And if you haven't taken care of business in your life, take care of it. Because when the time comes to go, the only dishes you're going to be able to wash are the ones in the sink. You can't wash the dishes from 6 months ago or 5 years ago that you should have done way back when. You can only do what's in front of you. So you do it. The next morning, I get up and I get a note from a dear friend, and I'm not going to name names now because it gets complicated, who had made a wrong turn at night to go to the bathroom and fell down a flight of stairs and had a major brain bleed and was in the hospital fighting for his life. And I went from my own potential death to the potential death of a friend. And the universe just said to me, everything's off the table, everything. The knowable, the comfort, the security of knowing what tomorrow will bring is no longer there. I will tell you, this person is doing okay. They are fine. Life is moving forward. It's still a little bit of a drama, but the wake up call in these two events, almost simultaneous, was you're on your own, be ready and let go. And don't imagine that anything in your mind or your knowledge base or your sense of reading or your sense of prayer is going to tell you what to do next. You have to go to a place that just goes, yes, yes, if you can. And even if you can't, accept your misery and your fear and all of that as part of the human equation, because that is what we are and who we are. And it's so important to be able to give yourself over to the magnitude of not knowing, to the magnitude of having no mind and no memory and a body that's falling apart and still going, your entire practice, your entire meditative life that you are involved in right at this moment is not to give you comfort and joy and make you better than other people or make you feel more secure. It's the opposite. It's to make you very human and to make you very ready for what every human being goes through and to try to do it with grace and simplicity. That's really what you're trying to do, to get to the place where you just prepare the journey, get yourself ready. At any moment, anything can happen, and you want to be ready to go, okay, okay. And what appears to be in my scope of things awaiting us is just something much bigger, which has never not been there, but which does not contain you as a separate aspect. There's no you having it. There's no you getting there. There's no you arriving at it. There's no you benefiting from it. None of that. None of that. There is just it, this, whatever your mind wants to call it. But trust me, when the mind goes, there's no name for it. There's no name, there's no context, there's nothing except so. Somehow or another, we've all found ourselves on this journey. And I'm one of those people who took too much drugs by mistake back when, and again, just this last week. So I can only tell you the informational load that is coming in is what I'm sharing with you. What you do with it, whatever you want to do with it, you can make it part of the story again. You can go, well, this is what happens and that's what happens. I'm telling you, no, it's not this is what happens and that's what happens, because it is not predictable in the biggest sense. I mean, yes, there's a journey. Yes, you come into being and you go out of being. Yes, I think there is a radiant force that has made this happen. Very likely we are going to return to or find ourselves having always been in that space. That makes the mind feel good, right? Body feel good. Everybody's feeling happy. I don't know for sure about anything, but boy, oh boy, we are on something amazing. And because I've stopped reading the newspaper in the morning and I have to just sit at my table eating and watch the birds and whatever, it's like, whoo, this is total reprogramming. I'm not aware of the world as it plays out in the historical political sense. I'm not aware of anything. I'm just seeing trees and birds and how happy they are when they fly back to the branch and how ferocious they are getting their seed as opposed to somebody else's seed. And I just watch it and I go, I don't even try to make it into something other. I just go, The expression of is not a bad one. It's not a bad way to live. Hmm, hmm. See where it goes. But anyway, I in making this class talk today, uh, you know, everybody wants to be guided and led to something that will make them feel better and hold their hand, and maybe this does. I really I don't know how it's coming across, but all I can tell you is something about this is amazing, wondrous, brilliant, beautiful, terrifying, unknowable, ungraspable, and Why you would listen to me say anything more than this, I don't really know. I do, as I've said to you, probably week after week. Don't know why I still sit here and say these things, but when they push me off this chair or tell me to stop, I'm happy. I don't even know what I don't even know what to say. But I will tell you, I love, and when I say I don't even know what that I is, but I love you. I cannot even begin to tell you how deeply that love comes across. And in this class that happens, not one of you is left untouched by something inexpressible, not something that we can communicate with in a intellectual and structural way. It is no, there's no structure left. It's just, and boy, does it care about you. And boy, does it want you to reflect it into the world. That's what it feels like. It, you are vessels for this exquisite, still pointed beauty that comes into life. And I cannot tell you how much it wants you to be available to it. That's what I get from the teaching. I am astounded sitting with each one of you how exquisitely formed you are in this world. You know, we all have troubles and we all have difficulties. We all have stories. We all have stuff that doesn't work. Doesn't matter. Everybody's got that. Just find your way through whatever initiatory experience that comes to finding this thing that loves and uses you to express it, that has light in it and expresses you to, uses you to light up the world. You are the illuminating force. I am grateful to know every one of you, and the universe is grateful to know you as well. Is this, should I ask for questions? I don't,
Bruce,
yes.
this is Tony Becerra, and I'm about, I'd say about 10 years younger than you. And so I'm at the beginning of this process. I'm just starting to have memory issues. And I got to tell you, these talks that you've been giving are so extraordinarily helpful for me. And just knowing what's about to happen is huge.
Well, I think that's why they're being given. You know, I just this week joined the Alzheimer's Association because I wanted more information for me and for Blanche, and I gave them money. Not a bad thing to do, except I will tell you they don't stop writing you every day to ask for more. The other issue is what you see is there's not you see a path that there's nothing much you can do about. There you can try to take these drugs that they mostly say don't work to slow it down. But what you realize in the process is there is a there's a variability to it that's kind of astounding. So you kind of program yourself one way or the other to go this direction or that. It's going to follow its own direction. But our housekeeper's husband has Alzheimer's, and the thing she learns from going to meetings is her husband is either two steps ahead or two steps below somebody else. But that's all that's what you learn basically. It's a journey. It's a journey into disintegration. It happens and it will happen for many people. Not everybody. A lot of people come to their final moment of life. Fine, everything's fine. They had a good life. People around the bed. They say goodbye. This was a really beautiful time. But then, if you've watched my movie Jacob's Ladder, you know, or you deal with issues of Bardo states, which are the Tibetan teachings, again, which may be totally, I mean, not false, but part of the mindset, you know, but they do say something really interesting that the journey back to singularity, if you want to call it that, still happens and unfolds after the mind body disintegrates, that it's still happening. So if you can begin to allow and embrace that disintegration now, when that moment comes, ideally, you will be very close to having been erased from the equation, and the transition will be simpler. But if, again, the problem with that is the I who wants that and trying to get a result that's going to make you better. That just emphasizes the I. So it's like I'm saying it's there to be done, but the best thing is be be a good person on this journey. Be kind and be light. And I got to tell you, you don't need much more information than that, except that being good and kind takes effort. because often you want to be not good and not kind, and that gets you in trouble. And that creates the knots and the shadowy forms and the darkness of a life. And somebody, for some reason, has created this existence that allows us an opportunity to unwind that and unravel that and bring ourselves into a kind of mindless, memoryless reality that is indescribable. So I'm just affirming what you were saying, and I'm glad it helps. And yes, for those of you who are 10 years away or 2 years away, there's nobody holding our hands here. There's nobody to help us. This is just a little bit of something, but we are on this alone. So get your alone thing together so that you can, when the time comes, wash the dishes, fix the couch, cover the couch, and do the other things you need to do to go, ciao, because that's kind of all that remains. Is that enough of enough? Yeah, picking that up. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Next
Love
week,
you, Bruce.
more to come. And I think, I truly, I never know anymore. If there isn't more to come, you can leave it with this because I think it's a good one. Stay light, stay radiant, be joyful as best you can, be kind, and have a great one.